What's going on, guys? Welcome to Total Football, where we discuss everything football. And you know this is my favourite show, man. Not Everyday United. Before we get into it, just want to say, everyone that's asking me when the fight tickets are out, they're going to be out after Christmas. You lot know who I'm fighting. If you don't, you can check the social medias. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Ain't going to give him too much publicity because... fuck him, to be honest. You'll see. Now, apparently he's in the gym at the moment. I'm going to wait till after Christmas and then get to business. I hope he's training hard because I'm looking to knock man out. So, it's going to be my first show. So, big up everyone that's going to come down and support me, man. Mad love, as always, for everyone that supports me. Also, your king discount code is always in the description. It's man like Rants at the checkout to get your discount. Yeah, I think that's all for now. We're going to get into the questions, guys, because there's some good ones. The first one, Anas Ahmed, is at Anas_488. Why do you think it's very rare for England to produce very technical and special talents compared to other countries like France, the Netherlands, etc.? Do you think it's got to do with their childhoods and the way the game is perceived here, or is it luck? I love your vids. Bro, there's so many different layers to this. I'm just going to touch on a few points. Having been on the pro circuit for a bit, there's a lot of nepotism involved. Like, if your parents are not footballers or you don't come from a footballing family, it's very hard to get in. It's very hard to get in, bruv. Like, I played with Charlie Sheringham for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, like, if Teddy Sheringham's your dad, you're going to be a professional footballer, bruv. It's that simple, innit? I don't know if he's still playing now, but even players like Ander Herrera, these men are like second or third generation footballers, and you wouldn't even really know because you don't know like the depths of their story, because obviously they're Spanish. But most of these ballers, I've got family in football. That very much helps. The travelling and that involved, and the expense as well. Like, when I was 8 years old, I grew up in Northwest. A man's travelling to Southwest London to go football at 8 years old on my own on public transport to go to Fulham and that. Like, and it's long, bruv. If you're from a single parent household and stuff like that, not only is it expensive, but it's a lot of work. Do you know what I mean? And London's a big place, so that's very hard. And then on top of that, I just think the style of football in this country, I think the football culture in this country is slowly changing, but on the whole, it's not like the rest of Europe. They don't really rate the technical game, bruv. These men are all about passion and working hard and lots of running and stuff like that. They don't really appreciate the technical footballers the way they should. They never have. That's why players like Scott Parker will play ahead of Michael Carrick. I've been saying it. Do you know what I mean? They don't really rate a technical baller. That's why when you see a lot of these fans as well that are rating Daniel James over like Martial and all that, bruv, it's nonsensical, bruv. Like, I think British sports in general, they're all about blood and guts and heart and all that shit. Even in their boxing, they love a Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton weren't a great technical boxer, bruv. He was just, same with Carl Froch, man. These men are blockhead bears that just walk into punches, take bare licks, bruv, and then leave the fight with their face all mashed up. But because they got the decision, man are like, yeah, that's great, bruv. But boxing's hit and don't get hit, bruv. Like, if your face looks like someone's taking a sledgehammer to it, you didn't win, bruv. Like, I don't care whether you got the belt or not, innit? And that's just how it is, man. Just the Brits in general, man, they're all just about blood and guts, and they don't appreciate like the fine art and the finesse side of the sport. And that's why these players don't seem to get through. The closest man to a road baller that man's seeing right now is Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho's a real road baller, and I know so many of them. I've got a few of them playing for the United Stand FC. I can't wait to get the footage from the last game and get that out to you guys, so you, man, can actually see some of the ballers that we've got, man. But, like, I've got a lot of Algerian friends, Eritrean friends, like, just friends, North African friends and all of that. Mad skillful, bruv. That, like, you play 5-a-side, 7-a-side with. And these men will never make it pro in this country because of how they play, but these men are saucy, innit? Like, even where I'm from, like, Bolassi's like the only road baller that made it to the Prem. And some of the skills that Yannick was doing when we were kids was a joke, innit? And you man have seen what he done to Deja and Lovren and that. Like, that's literally the tip of the iceberg of what Yannick was doing. But because Yannick had the physical attributes as well, he managed to make it to the Prem. But if Yannick was probably 5'7", do you know what I mean, and never had like the strength and pace that he had, even with his technical ability, he probably wouldn't have made it. In England, it's all about the physical attributes, the blood and the guts and all of that, like more so than the technical aspect of the game. And it's a damn shame, to be honest, man. Like, I'd like to say it's changing the technical aspect, but I still think the physical side of the game, that's always going to be there in England, because that's the style of play, innit? If you're not an athlete, you'll struggle to play in this country being British. Let me know if there's anything you can add to that, guys. Let me know if there's anything you can add to that. But there's so many different factors. But I just think that the attitude in general from British coaches, even though it's changing with the likes of the Eddie Howes and Southgates and that, I still think on the whole, do you know what I mean? When you got fucking managers like Duncan Ferguson and stuff like that, you're going to get that blood and guts football, in it, passion. Next one, Ricky Khalifa. What is your opinion on Thiago Alcantara? Do you think he's massively underrated or he deserves the attention he gets? How far do you think Bayern will go in this year's Champions League? I'm not sure how far I think Bayern will go. I think they have to be one of the favourites because Louis on smoke, bruv. I think he's the best striker in the world. And Thiago Alcantara is one of my favourite midfield players. If I could sign any midfielder in the world, it would be him, because United already have Pogba. But Thiago's two-footed, his ball control is impeccable. He can dribble, he can pass, he can do everything. Like, we were linked with him under David Moyes. I genuinely think that Thiago is one of the best midfielders in the world and has been for quite a while. And I don't know, his name always does go under the radar when man are talking about top midfielders. Everyone talks about Kroos, Modric and them, man, like when they're in their prime. But for me, Thiago is better than both of them. So it's a bit of a mad one. I think that he's got absolutely everything, man. Like, he's my kind of footballer. 100%, man. Like, I love the guy, innit? I think he's just majestic. Let me know what you man saying for Bayern Munich in the Champions League this year. I think that they got to be up there with the favourites. And also, Thiago Alcantara, absolute bad boy midfielder. At Man Like Memphis 1, do you think we'll see a rise in football managers with little to no playing career, plus more of Asian and African coaches in Europe? I don't know about the Asian and African coaches, because I don't know who you're referring to when you've cited this, because I don't know any off the top of my head. No playing career. I don't know about little to no playing career, but what I would say is these kind of managers have always been about. Do you know what I mean? Arsene Wenger didn't have a recognised playing career. Like, do you know what I mean? Neither did Jose Mourinho. Like, there's bare managers where you're looking at them and you're not thinking, yo, they were top ballers, bruv. Do you know what I'm saying? Look how young Eddie Howe is. Do you know what I mean? He could probably still be playing. Like, there's bare man like that. So, I wouldn't say little to none. But what I would say is, I think now is the rise of the new manager. It's funny because Carlo Ancelotti and Jose Mourinho were like the last of that era of manager. Like, and the thing is, Jose is not even that old, but he's old enough to be in that era, like almost still in the Fergie and Wenger era. Do you see what I mean? Same with Carlo. After that, I think Pochettino is the only one that's kind of like in between both eras, where Poch is young, but he's not young. Like, he's experienced. He's not super experienced, but he's got a bit. Most of the managers you're seeing now aren't very experienced. They're young and they're on their first recognised project. With the likes of, like, now Mikel Arteta taking over at Arsenal, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You look at, I wouldn't put Klopp in there because Klopp was at Dortmund, which is a good, which is a big club. However, like, Klopp's still young. Do you know what I mean? Pep is still young, but Pep's been around for ages. So Pep would be in the same bracket as as the Mourinho. Because for me, after leaving Manchester City, I think that Pep, I don't know if he's still going to have the hunger to go to another big club and do another 3-4 years. I don't think he will. He might go into international management, or he might just fucking retire. Zizou's relatively young. Do you know what I mean? Him and Pochettino would be in a similar bracket. Arguably, Pochettino's more experienced than Zidane. Do you see what I mean? So it's all like, I think it's definitely a time for a new manager. Then when you go to Leipzig, like there's just so many different clubs where they've got new managers, young managers that are probably in the first 2 or 3 years of recognised top flight management, and it's exciting because that's why I think United have to go get Poch now. Because if you don't get Poch now, you're just getting a new manager with no experience. Out of young managers with experience, Poch has to be top of that list. So it's very interesting what I'd say about this particular time in management. A lot of the old guard are kind of dying out now. Like Carlo's at Everton, I think that's his way of like admitting that he's done with top flight football and he's just going to get a nice check at Everton and see if he can kind of stabilise them and then call it a day. Let me know what you think of that, guys. But yeah, it's a mad one for the coaches at the moment. All right. One Sniper, it says, why do you think black managers and coaches like Sol Campbell and Andy Cole find it way harder to break into the Premier League? Well, I know that Coley don't want to manage anyway because I was with him the other night. Sol Campbell, you know what? I'm going to flip this year. Cool. Because they're black, it definitely makes it a lot harder for them. Don't ever get it twisted, because that's just how it is when I say about nepotism and that. And you look how easy Frank Lampard found it to get into management. Like literally retired straight into a job. Steven Gerrard retired straight into a job. And then you look at Sol Campbell, who arguably was as good as either of those two players in his own right. Struggling, mate. Starting at fucking League One teams and that. Same with Paul Lynch, yeah. Paul Lynch fucking started his career in like League One or something like that. But then you get players like a Roy Keane that can start their career in the Premier League or start their career in the Championship. Like there's definitely the white coaches are definitely favoured. Like don't ever get it twisted. That's just how it is. However, when all these coaches I've mentioned have all been shit, I'm going to flip it and I'm going to tell you the football education in England, yeah, in general, is poor. That's why a lot of these English players are tactically very inept, yeah. They don't understand the game. They don't have the basic understanding. And you see it from the punditry that we see every day. Giggs was criticising Martial the other day. He was a brilliant player under Sir Alex Ferguson, but you got to question how much this guy actually knows about the tactical side of football by some of the things that he says. The same goes for Gary Neville and a few of the other ex-pros. I think that these British players that are in their 40s now, yeah, I think tactically they're very limited. Most of these men only played in a 4-4-2 and don't really understand the game. When you compare it to like the Dutch players, like the Van der Sars, like the Daley Blinds and that, and obviously like I'm speaking from a Manchester United point of view because I've got more inside information on these players because they were at the club I support. So I've seen interviews, I've seen how they play and stuff like that. Even Dennis Bergkamp. Like, I think Dennis Bergkamp would be a bad boy manager, bro. Because you can just tell that tactically, he just knows his thing. Same with someone like a Daley Blind and stuff like that. These are the kind of guys that will go on to be technical directors and stuff like that. And they're very, very intelligent people. Then you look at the Spanish as well. You look at Pep Guardiola. You look at La Masia and that, like, these guys actually teach these players how to play football up here as well as playing football with their feet. Whereas a lot of these British men, yeah, all they got taught is bleep tests, blood. That's why if they see a man that's not running around kicking people, they ain't got nothing nice to say about them. Like, these men, technically, like, from an analytical standpoint, these men don't understand football, bruv. So even the white men that are getting chances in football management are shit, blood. There's not a single player that's played under the greatest manager of all time, yeah, that's become a good manager. None. How come Fergie ain't produced one decent manager out of all the people he's coached? Like, it makes you wonder. You see what I mean? So I just think the football education of these men are shit. And I think that, right, even if Sol Campbell did get a Premier League job, I don't know. I think he'd be a shit manager anyway, just because of the era that man came through. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit of a mad one. Like, and I did want to talk about that because I just think in general, the football education in this country is so dead. And that's why when you get loads of these idiots on TalkSport saying, like they were saying with Troops and DT, yeah, like, what did they do before they went on Arsenal Fan TV? Like, that's got anything to do with their ability to analyse a football match. It don't mean anything. Just because you played Premier League, just because you played Pro, that don't mean that you actually can analyse a game of football just because you're a good footballer, bruv, because it's a different process. Just because you can do something with your feet, that don't mean that your brain is functioning in a good enough way for you to be a manager or a pundit from an analytical side. Michael Owen, Ballon d'Or winning centre forward, shit pundit, bro. And that's just what it is. So I honestly think that the football education in this country from a tactical standpoint is very poor. And that's why someone like Louis van Gaal, who came in, the way he taught a lot of the players at Manchester United, I think will benefit them going forward, bruv. Let me know what you think about that. Very good question, though. Mr. BHAFC, Brandon. Who are your top 3 players ever to play in the Prem? My guy. Hashtag total football. I don't really know. Because I think it's very hard. Because obviously I have a bias towards certain types of players. Because I like finesse players. I like skill players. I like exciting players. So I do not know, brother. I do not know in the Premier League. There's loads. What I can do is I can tell you some of my favourites that I used to enjoy watching probably throughout the years. Growing up, because I was a striker, definitely Ian Wright, definitely Dennis Bergkamp, definitely Eric Cantona, who's my favourite Manchester United player ever. Zola, Di Canio, Mark Viduka was wavy. Like, a lot of these men are forwards, bruv. Do you know what I mean? Because I was a forward, so I looked at them. Mark Viduka's touch was crazy. He looked like a pub man, yeah. But listen, this guy's touch was silk. Matt Letizia, David Ginola. David fucking Ginola, bruv. He's another one, yeah. Like, growing up watching David Ginola, 2-footed, tall, but he had pace and could just chop a man inside out. He's very underrated. I think he's one of the best players to play in the Premier League. In his prime, David Ginola was unfucking playable. Paul Scholes, obviously. He's in my top 3 Manchester United of all time. Thierry Henry. And it's mad. And all of this comes from the era of Manchester United and Arsenal dominance. It's very crazy. Like, that was the peak of my childhood. So that's what sticks out to me, ultimately. So yeah, like, them kind of man there, really, to be honest, it's very hard to pick one. And then at the moment, like, my favourite Premier League players would probably be Pogba, Firmino, and probably Kevin De Bruyne. Like, so yeah, to watch would be them 3 now. But it very much depends on, like, the era and loads of different things, man. I just like technical, skilled ballers. Dimitar Berbatov, another one. Robin Van Persie, another one. Like, I think Van Persie's in my top 3 favourite Manchester United players ever. Just pure finesse. So, yeah, I think it depends on so many different factors. But I'm just a lover of finesse players. I do like a finesse player. I like a smart player. So that's what I like to gravitate towards. I like to see football played that way. But you guys, in the comment section, give me your top 3 Premier League players from today. Fuck going all the way back, because there's too many different eras within the last 25 years that I can remember, or 20 years. So what we'll do, top 3 Premier League players now at any club. I'm going to go with De Bruyne, Pogba and Firmino. That's to watch for me personally. At TRMick3, do you think football has become more about athletes rather than actual footballers? I don't think. I think it has in England, and it's always been that way. But I think on the continent, not particularly. I still think in Germany it's a technical game. In Holland it's a technical game. In France it's a technical game. In Spain it's a technical game. It's only in England, but in England it's always been about blood and guts, bro. It's always been about that. That's why you can see, man, like in the Premier League, like Carlton Cole, Anichebe, Amiobi, these kind of strikers, bro, that are just big and strong, like. And that in this country, yeah, as a striker, they either want you to be big and strong or extremely quick. There's no real room for someone that's in between. Do you see what I mean? And I found that growing up a lot, because I'm only 5'10". Like, I'm not tall enough to be the target man, but then I wasn't particularly quick. Like, I could get away from you, like with the ball at my feet, but I wasn't like rapid. So because I wasn't particularly quick and I wasn't particularly big, like there was nowhere for me. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it tends to be like that in England. It's always really been like that, to be completely honest. But I think in other countries, it's not so, more so like that. At Sam 19477141 Arteta to Arsenal thoughts. I think it's a good signing. I honestly think that Arsenal always had Mikel Arteta in mind, and I also think that Mikel Arteta always had Arsenal in mind. I heard that he was definitely in the running to replace Pep Guardiola. I think Mikel Arteta, he was a very underrated footballer. He was very good at Everton. I think he was past his best when he went to Arsenal. However, again, he's Spanish, bro. And you see players like that, his football IQ and his football education would have been very high. And then studying under Pep as well. I think that Mikel Arteta can be a very, very good coach if Arsenal give him time. I honestly think that the quality of football Arsenal play is going to improve. How can you not learn under Pep Guardiola? How? Do you know what I mean? They speak the same language. They would have had a similar footballing education anyway in their native country and everything like that. So I think that Mikel Arteta is going to be a good coach. I think he is. Like, a lot of people are looking at it saying, oh yeah, but he's got no experience and stuff like that. He doesn't have any experience, but I tell you what, being the number 2 to one of the greatest managers in modern history is not a fucking bad place to start. I tell you what, I'd take that over a man that was managing Mulder, bruv. Do you see what I mean? Like, I would fucking take that. So, what managing Mulder, yeah, or number 2 at Manchester City under Pep Guardiola, you have to say that on paper that they've got a better manager. Like, obviously they haven't, because he still needs to do things, but I'm saying on paper, all the attributes are there for Arteta to be a serious manager. And that wasn't even me trying to throw shade at Oli. I'm just comparing it. So when even Troops wasn't too happy about Arteta, but honestly, I think that it could turn out to be a masterstroke if he's given a little bit of time. I really do. I don't see why he can't get them playing, at very least, a lot better football than they're playing right now. Because right now, for any Arsenal fan that's been watching Arsenal under Wenger, they must be disillusioned because they've been spoiled with playing attractive football for so long and then watching dog shit right now. So I think the attractive football days are coming back to the Emirates, man, and I'm not looking forward to it, if I'm honest. I like seeing Arsenal in disarray. Like, I'll be honest, innit? But I think that he's going to do better than people think. Let me know what your thoughts are on Mikel Arteta, guys. 2 more. Pranav 61987. Which is the player you like watching the most in the Premier League? Mine is Zaha. For Manchester United, Paul Pogba. In general, Bobby Firmino for me. And that's just like watching, because the way he drifts into that pocket, the little flicks, the movement, the intelligence, the ball control, everything like that. I think that he's the perfect pivot in the false 9. Like, I don't think I've seen anyone play that position to that level. I think Lionel Messi is the only player I've ever seen play the false 9 consistently to a level that high, innit? Like, and that's no exaggeration. Obviously, on paper, people like to make jokes and say, "Oh yeah, but Firmino's not scoring, he's not assisting and stuff like that." But a lot of the time, he's involved in the build-up, or he plays the pass before the pass, and that doesn't translate on paper. So then, man, want to try use that as an agenda and be like, "Yeah, well, he's shit," but nah. This guy's an elite footballer. Let me know, what's your favourite player to watch in the Premier League that doesn't play for your club, guys? So leave your club name, who you support, and see who your favourite player to watch is outside of your club. Because there's bare these football fans that only watch their own club, man. And if you only watch your own club, you're not a football fan. You're just a fan of your club. Last but not least, Slim the Reaper. It says, Haaland gives me Mario Gomez vibes in the box. I'd love that kind of finishing at United. That's not even a question. However, I took that because I don't really agree. Mario Gomez, I think they've both got a bit of the poacher shithouse thing in them, but I don't know. I think Mario Gomez was more of an out-and-out finisher. I think that Haaland's got a bit more to his game. I do, but Haaland just reminds me of Lukaku, bruv. I'm not gonna lie, with more technical ability, because he does like to run at players. Lukaku does like to run at players with his feet and die with the odd step over. He does like to drift out to the channels and stuff like that. He's a brute, but he can finish. So it's a bit of a weird one. I definitely would not say I wouldn't say Mario Gomez. I would say in terms of style of play, where he wants to be, he wants to get the ball facing the goal if he can, very similar to Rom. He just looks like a more polished version of Lukaku to me. Like, if I'm completely honest, man, I think that's who he reminds me of the most. I'm not sure about the Mario Gomez kind of thing, because I don't see Haaland as just a fox in the box. Like, he does want to try link play. He does want to run the channels. He does want to do loads of things. And he does get a few assists as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a numbers guy. I don't know what Mario Gomez used to get assist-wise, but Haaland does get a few assists. I think that his game is more than just being in the box and scoring tap-ins. Yeah, thanks for that, bro. If you can think of any other players as well that Haaland reminds you of, let me know. And let me see. Like, I heard a few shouts. Some of the boys were saying, "Oh, Van Nistelrooy, I don't see it." Do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, let me know, man. But stylistically, I think that's the closest we can get. And that was your total football, guys. Also, just like on the Flex and Rant show, send me pictures or send me videos of you watching the show and tell me where you're watching from as well. I know we have people all over the world. It's mad watching the shows, the Flex and Rant show, and this show as well. So yeah, show me. I know there's a lot of people like South Africa, India, etc., etc. Let me know where you're watching from, man. Like, I appreciate the support. Obviously, got the show sponsored and that's coming down from you lot riding out for, man. I mad appreciate it. Make sure you follow the socials at Rants and Bants on Twitter and Instagram for all your trolling needs. Man's still gonna be trolling. Tone it down a little tiny bit, but do you know what I mean? I'm still gonna be out here doing that. And yeah, United Colchester tonight. Hopefully we don't lose. And yeah, you got a Rants Red Talk coming, and also a match review if you're a United fan, guys. But appreciate your support. I'll let you know about the tickets, etc., when they're out. So just keep an eye on the socials for that. And yeah, take it easy.